Today we're gonna have a rib tickling good time. Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of the FOGO Live. FOGO. I am your host, Captain Ron. Today we're gonna do something really cool. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna take a set of spare ribs. We're gonna cut them down to St. Louis style ribs, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. And we're gonna use the snake method in a Weber kettle to cook these things. They're gonna smoke beautifully. They're gonna have so much flavor. We're gonna season them up special. But first, let's get this grill lit so that when they're all seasoned and ready to go on, we can start cooking. My favorite part. All right, kids, so we're gonna use my old trusty Weber grill. You can tell even my Webers are green. You know I love green grills. Pretty cool. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do a snake method in here, which means we're gonna set them around the outside and let that fire slowly work its way around as they smoke these ribs. So let's get some briquettes and get this thing filled up and lit. If you remember from the previous videos, we're gonna use some briquettes. We're gonna line them up around the outside, and we're gonna add some smoking blocks. Real simple stuff, but let's get these babies lined up. The way I'm gonna choose to light my snake method today is with a blazer ball. I've got 2 of our FOGO fire starters, voila, in the blazer ball. We're gonna put it right at the very beginning of the snake and put some coals right on top of it. You know, if you're not familiar with how the snake method works, it's really simple and it's really cool. What we did is we basically lit the head of the snake. Now, instead of having a charcoal full of charcoal here, we're gonna have a 1 layer around the outside so we can put our meat over here. It's gonna be cooking indirect. That's what we want, indirect. So we're gonna smoke these ribs. We're gonna put some smoking chunks around the outside so that as the snake burns around, it's gonna hit those smoke and continue to add smoke throughout the cook, not just once, but many times. All right, let's talk ribs for a second. So I bought these beautiful rack of spare ribs, but wait, Ron, you told us that we were gonna be making St. Louis ribs. Exactly. I'm gonna show you how to trim spare ribs, which can be the least expensive kind of ribs to buy, and how to trim them into St. Louis ribs. It only takes like 2 or 3 minutes. It's plain and simple to do, and it's gonna save you some money. And I love the way that St. Louis ribs are anyway. A couple things here. So what we have is down here, you can see we have our rib section where all the bones are. Up here is the breastplate, and here's the other part that we're gonna cut off as well. This is all good stuff. We're not gonna cut it off. It's like what they make rib tips out of. What we're gonna do is go over about the 3rd or 4th bone in and find the longest bone. Okay, so this is our longest bone right here. So we're gonna start our cuts. I like to make it, I learned this from Malcolm Reed's video. You put it along the edge of your cutting board here so you have a nice straight line to go by. Go by the longest rib and just go right down into it and cut parallel to here. Okay, you're not cutting through bone, you're just cutting through cartilage. That's all you're cutting through. All right, so we have our separation like that. Again, seeing how we're keeping this lined up with the cutting board, it's giving us a nice straight edge to go by. So we're just gonna follow that same line straight down. Again, no bones, just cutting through cartilage, that's it. Just like that. Now let's talk about the part that we cut off, okay? This is all really good meat. It's super tasty. It's a little more difficult to eat, but the reason that we cut it off too is that in these ends here, there's a lot of really tough cartilage. When you're eating a spare rib, it's really hard to eat the whole about 1/3 of the rib because it has so much of the cartilage in it. So again, this is all great. You can use it for sausage. You can cook it right up next to your ribs. It's gonna cook a little bit quicker, but it's just not pleasant to eat with the ribs. So let's get back to finishing our St. Louis trim. And there we have it. Now, what we have is this beautiful squared off set of ribs. Then this one end down here is thin and there's no bones. What we want to do is go to the first bone and just cut right alongside that bone and cut off this thin end. Because what's going to happen is this part here is so thin and there's no bone, it's going to cook and it's not going to be edible anyway. So get rid of it, save it for sausage, give it to the dog, cook it separately, whatever you want to do, but it's still a good little piece of meat. Now that we've got our nice, beautiful, uniform ribs here, we can trim a little bit of the loose fat off here. All right, just take some of the loose stuff. We're not going through, we're just cutting off the extra. And down here we have just a little bit of extra little hangers on. We don't want the hangers on, we get them off of there. So now we have a beautiful, squared off, clean looking set of ribs, almost like a competition style looking rib. Now on the back here, as you probably are very well aware, there's a membrane on the back here. Now you can take this and kind of edge it up with your knife a little bit on the corner, take a paper towel and rip the membrane off if you like, just pull it off like that. Myself, I don't like to remove it, okay? I'm a little bit different. What I like to do is score it. It's gonna help it hold it together. I just kind of like the texture that it gives on the back. It can almost get a little crispy sometimes. So we're just gonna cut a real shallow crisscross pattern into them, just like this, across the whole thing. I like the membrane on there. You can peel it off if you want. That's up to you. It's really a matter of personal preference. And now, let's season these babies. Now I want some flavorful ribs, so I'm gonna start with a coat of salt and pepper. All right, 50% kosher salt, 50% black pepper. We're not gonna coat them like we would a brisket. We're just gonna give it a light dusting. Next up, honky tonk seasoning. It's a little spicy, so I want a little color. I also wanted a little zip, so I'm just gonna add a real light coating of this. My super special ingredient, Tina Cannon's European Blend seasoning. And lastly, garlic salt, because everything is better with garlic on it. All right, according to our Weber here, we are at 250 degrees, so we're gonna take our ribs and stick them right on here, not over the fire. We're gonna set them opposite of where the fire is. And we're gonna set our vents across from that so that the smoke has to roll over it, over the meat, and out the other side. And there we have it. Now, in case you're wondering what my plan is for cooking these things, we're gonna do what's called the 2-2-1 method. You've heard of the 3-2-1, I'm not too big on that. I like the 2-2-1, 2 hours of smoke, 2 hours in a wrap, and 1 hour back off there again. So that's what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna let these go for 2 hours, and I'll see you back here right then. All right, kids, can you guess what time it is? It's wrapping time. Oh, not that kind of wrapping, rib wrapping. So they've been on for 2 hours, just a touch over 2 hours. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take us a big piece of foil. I hope you can hear that over me ripping it and everything like that. What I got 5 pats of butter here. I'm just gonna lay down 5 pats of butter right on it, so when we put the ribs down, it'll be right on top of the butter. And now let's grab our ribs. Mandatory 3 clicks, you know the rules here. Oh, look how beautiful. First off, let me show you something. In just over 2 hours, look, that's all that's burnt out of the snake method. And we're burning at just over 275 degrees here. So in the smoking wood is burnt down. All we're gonna do now, grab our ribs, just like that, and lay them right across that butter. Meat side down. Voila. All we do now is we're gonna give it a quick wrap. So we're just gonna fold it over, okay? Hold on. Fold it over, just like that. Nice, neat, tight little packet here. Okay, some people like to put other stuff in here. They could put honey or things like that. I just don't ever like to do that. I find it just burns too much when I do it. So, we're just gonna wrap them just like this. We're gonna put them back on bone side down, meat side up in the exact same spot that they were in before. Again, opposite side from the fire. All right, so that's hitting here. Gonna keep the vent on the opposite side of the fire, just like that. And now we're gonna go another 2 hours just like that. And now we're at another 2 hours since they've been wrapped. So it's time to unwrap our ribs. Oh yeah. Hey, I want you to zoom in on this. Take a look at here. 4 hours in, and look how little coals are burned. They're actually burned to right about there. But that's pretty darn impressive for 4 hours. So let's go ahead and unwrap these babies and see what we've got. Whew, hot. Hot, hot, hot stuff. I don't recommend to do this with no gloves. Oh, look at all those juices in there. See this already? Building up beautifully. Yeah. Gorgeous ribs. Look at that. Now, the only thing left to do is to take them and put them back on. Oh yeah, beautiful bend. They're gorgeous. Look at that top side. They are absolutely beautiful. Dripping. Dripping ribs, I tell you. I got an idea. Let's go back to the grill and put them back on. This is beautiful. Now, what this is gonna do for this last hour, we're gonna let this bark set back up again and tighten up, and it's gonna be just absolutely perfect. So we're gonna put the lid back in with the vents directly across from the fire. Guess what? That's another 30 minutes gone by. Time for saucing. So we're gonna sauce them. I'm gonna leave that sauce on there for the last half hour or so. I'm using, let's see, Tillman's Chipotle Apple, one of my all-time favorite barbecue sauces. All right, we're just gonna give a good squirt and coat it. We're just gonna brush it on. And just give it a light brush. We're not trying to wipe off the seasoning. We're just trying to spread the sauce, spread the love. So just a real light pushing of the sauce. And now we put the lid back on. So we gotta remember, we smoked them for 2 hours. They were in foil for 2 hours, and now we're gonna have one. So it's gonna be 2-2-1 method. Ready half hour, now a half hour with the sauce to set on there so it gets nice and sticky and tacky and delicious. And we'll be right back with that. And now the exciting part, kids. We are done with our ribs, so check these babies out. Oh, look at those. Are they just absolutely gorgeous or what? I think mostly or what? Now you can always give the old bend test. Yeah, look at that, perfect. Bending, the skin is just starting to crack. We got a nice 90-degree bend. You know those ribs are done just beautifully. We got gorgeous bone pull back here, meaning that the meat has pulled back from the edge of the bones. Let's bring it over to the old cutting board and see what we got. Look at those ribs. They are just absolutely gorgeous. We're gonna let them rest for a minute, but I want to just cut them and dig right into them. They look, smells go good. They smell, God, they smell unbelievable. So I'm really excited for these guys. I'm really excited for these. They're gonna be phenomenal. We're gonna let them rest for just a couple minutes, and then we're gonna cut them. All right, now my favorite time for cutting and tasting. So hey, you want a little tip for handling some hot stuff? We sell these cotton gloves down below. There's a link in the description below. You put them underneath your gloves right here and it allows you to handle nice hot food. You've got to pull pork or handle hot ribs, something like that. That's a great way to do it. So look at these ribs. I mean, just look, they're breakdancing. They're breakdancing. So I can't wait. I want to cut into them and see what we got. I'm a little bit speechless. Wow, folks, you need to do exactly what we just did. Do exactly what we just did to these ribs. Oh my goodness. I want to bite into it so bad, but we need to finish this up. A perfect bite through. If you want to go, fall off the bone, leave it in that wrapper a little bit longer, but good Lord, that is a perfect rib. Gorgeous crust, gorgeous smoke ring, juicy, bite through. It just doesn't get any better than that, folks. So here you go, snake method, ribs on a Weber kettle. I'll tell you what, I'll put this rib up against anybody's rib anytime, right here, right now, or anywhere. You tell me, I'll be there. Anyway, listen, if you saw anything that we used in our video here, there's always a link in the description, as well as a full blog and a full recipe, okay? So if you want to know a little bit more about the ribs that we used, you want a little bit more about the seasonings, you can go below and find out everything. But I can't tell you enough, please do yourself a favor, go make these ribs. Start with some spare ribs, trim them down to St. Louis, and make these ribs. They're absolutely fantastic. I'm in love. I'm gonna sign off now because I wanna go eat these. So remember to get out and grill, and I'll see you the next time on the FOGO Life.